This question goes first to Congressman Davis. Alabama has been hamstrung for more than a century by an outdated, racist, and fundamentally flawed state constitution. As governor, what will you do to assure that progressive constitutional reform in Alabama finally becomes reality? In particular, will you commit to supporting a citizens' convention, and do you believe that the people of Alabama should have a chance to vote on the question of calling a citizens' convention to rewrite our state constitution? Congressman Davis.
Ladies and gentlemen, in my inaugural address as governor, I'm going to stand up at the state capitol on the same star where Jefferson Davis stood, and I'm going to say we need a new constitution for a new century. And I'm going to go to the legislature and I'm going to say I want the voters of this state to elect delegates to a convention. I want the election for delegates on the primary ballot in 2012, when we renominate our President Obama and they nominate their hapless Republican candidate. I want delegates for a convention on the ballot. And I want, when I stand for re-election in 2014, you know, I want the ballot with me, a new constitution that's been worked up by those voters, or by those delegates. Here's why. We just wasted $100,000 in Montgomery last week on a special session dealing with something that only affects those of us in this room. It's Jefferson County's business whether we have an occupational tax. It's Jefferson County's business what our occupational tax looks like. That's not Montgomery's business. You know why? And that's because our 1901 Constitution doesn't give us home rule. The 1901 Constitution was built on a very familiar premise, ladies and gentlemen. It was built on the premise that local communities could not be trusted to make the right decisions. It was built on the premise that Montgomery knows better. It was built on the idea that some of the people living in some of these counties might one day rise up and be able to win elections, but you know what? We dare not trust them to go too far. That's what the folks who wrote the 1901 Constitution thought. Right now, mass transit's a big issue in Jefferson County. Our county is hurting financially. There's no way we could imagine doing a real mass transit plan right now. We need state help. You know why we can't get it? The Constitution says our dollars for transportation can only be spent on roads and bridges and not mass transit. Right now, many decisions that the next governor and the next legislature will need to make around an interesting question. Should big corporations out of state pay more on the property that they own in-state as far as their taxes go? Right now, they get the best deal in the United States as a practical matter. Our Constitution says we have to give them that deal. I want the governor and the legislature to be able to make policy choices about our future. We have a Constitution that is taken away from the people, that is taken away from the governor, away from the legislature, the ability to make hard decisions. It is long past time for a new document, for a new century and a new people.
Commissioner Sparks.
Well, you know, I was elected in 1978 as a county commissioner in DeKalb County, so I know how important local government is, and I know the responsibility of local government. But I've said all along that if there's a problem with the Constitution, let's change it amendment by amendment. I'm just a strong believer that when you take the Constitution and you hand it to the people of Montgomery, Alabama, you know, in Montgomery today, we've got 35 senators and 135 House members in Montgomery today. And we've got between 500 and 600 registered lobbyists. How many of you have a registered lobbyist in Montgomery, Alabama? Who's looking after your interest in Montgomery, Alabama? Folks, if we've got a problem with the amendment, just as the Congressman talked about, let's change it. But a Constitution Convention means we raise your taxes. And ladies and gentlemen, it's not by accident that in 1950 and 60 we had 250,000 family farmers in this state. Today we got 45,000. Let's raise their taxes. Let's run them out of business. Let's let other parts of the world feed us. If we've got a problem with the Constitution, let's change it amendment by amendment, and as governor, I am committed to do that.
Rebuttal, Congressman Davis.
That's what we've done. We've changed it amendment by amendment, and we still don't get to the good stuff, the hard stuff. And I absolutely wouldn't trust the Alabama legislature to do it, with all due respect to my many friends there. That's why I want a constitutional convention. But we've heard this before. We've heard before a new constitution means new taxes. Perhaps if you're a big out-of-state company that owns some land and you don't want to pay property taxes on it, you might be out of luck. But we ought to be able to make choices, and the legislature and communities ought to be able to make choices. I'm running for governor because I trust the people. I went into politics 10 years ago because I trust the people of this state. Because I trust the people of this state, I trust them to elect wise people who will produce not a perfect document, but a wise document, and I will take that over the dead hand of the past that has prevented us from constitutional reform.
Commissioner Sparks.
Congressman, I hadn't been governor, so I haven't had this opportunity. You can rest assured that when I become governor, it'll get done. I've showed that the Department of Agriculture, when I moved in over there, it was the Department of Agriculture of the country. But I'm not willing to open up the Constitution to a Constitutional Convention and let the people's taxes of Alabama go up. The people are straddled enough. If there is an amendment in the Constitution that needs to be corrected, as governor, I will fight to correct that Constitution, that amendment in that Constitution. And you can rest assured of that.